Hi, this is Krishna from Sivamstudios.com, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about making dynamic action poses and a few key exercises to build your drawing skill and ability. And I'm going to start off by working in Manga Studio. So one of the things that makes a character design interesting and more dynamic to look at is if it has something called a line of action. And a line of action is basically a simplified version of the spine, and it's going to be curved. And building off of the exercise from the first video, we're working on line confidence. I talked about a few warm-up exercises that I like to do to get started. This is another such exercise, and I'm starting off by drawing lines that are naturally curved. Most of the time when I'm working with students, I see that they draw a character usually from the head, body, and feet. And they might put the character in a particular pose. But that's kind of flat and boring. There's no sense of attitude or personality in the pose. And if we look at the line of action for this particular drawing, there really is none. It's pretty much a straight line. It's pretty flat, pretty lifeless. So using a line of action that has a curve associated with it allows us to make a pose that has attitude. And one of the techniques that I like to use when I'm actually trying to define the line of action is I'll start with the line of action, and then I'll establish a position for the shoulders, and I'm going to just indicate that with the cylinder here, and the pelvis. And these are two cylinders here, and I call them affectionately the toucan technique. So these cylinders basically ride along this line of action, and using pinch and stretch, and this is actually pinch, and this is stretch, we automatically give the character a little bit more of a dynamic look. Let's do a few more of these so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to actually make another line of action. And in this case, I'm actually going to make the shoulder blades somewhat small, and I'm going to make the pelvis large. The pinch occurs when the cylinder faces are actually close to one another. So I'm going to indicate that with a P, and this is going to have an S for stretch. You can think of it as a character leaning over. So if I draw a head, this gives you kind of a better idea. And if I draw feet, now we have a character that might be standing, but they're standing with a bit more of an attitude. This toucan technique is useful not only for a character that's pointing in one direction, but I can take these cylinders and incorporate twist. And the twist here would indicate the fact that in this case, the shoulder blades are pointing towards our left, and the pelvis is pointing to our right. Pinch and stretch. Let's go ahead and indicate some feet here. Add our hands. And I'll cover this in a later exercise with regards to how I'm actually constructing the arms. But I want you to see that this is kind of where we're leading up to. So I might have the character's head up like this, right? So once again, the body is pointing in one direction, the pelvis is pointing in another direction. So that also gives our drawing a little bit more depth. We're breaking the planes and making the pose appear to be more dynamic. Let's do one more. And this also works for drawing women as well. When you're drawing women, What I like to do is I like to keep the shoulder and the pelvis at roughly 45-degree angles, and there's a natural pinch and a stretch. And then we've got the legs for the character that taper out. So this toucan technique I found to be pretty useful in my own practice. With it, you can create some small armatures. These armatures, you can just draw them in your sketchbook, incorporating both pinch and stretch, keeping in mind line confidence, keeping in mind also that the line of action is always going to be curved and that these cylinders can be varied in proportion. So you can make a wide variety of bodies with this particular technique, whether it's the muscle man, who's going to have broader shoulders, or a character that is kind of more waist heavy, right? Practice this technique, keeping in mind the line of action. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ping me on Twitter. You may also leave comments. If you find this to be very useful, please let me know. If you have a particular drawing lesson that you would like me to consider, drop me a line. I'd like to thank you again for watching this particular video, and stay tuned.